GM, welcome to what's going to be another fantastic episode of DevNTell. So if you didn't know, DevNTell is a 30-minute podcast held every week, allowing founders, hackers, and anyone in between a stage to showcase their products. And today, I'm ecstatic to welcome Rong Kai, who's the CEO of Reactive Network. If you didn't know, Reactive Network is an EVM-compatible execution layer that allows developers to create dApps using reactive contracts. So if you stick around for today's episode, you'll see Ron give us a deep dive into how Reactive Network is redefining Web3 automation, including exploring event-driven smart contracts, securing AI integration, and the future of decentralized infrastructure. All right, let's get into it. But first, a word from our sponsor. Today's episode of DevNTell is brought to you by our friends at Arbitrum. Arbitrum is a technology suite designed to scale Ethereum. You can use Arbitrum chains to do all the things you do on Ethereum, but your transactions will be cheaper and faster. With over 3.8 million ETH saved, 1.69 million active wallets, and over 1.7 billion total transactions, why would you want to settle for any less? Get started today by exploring Arbitrum's comprehensive docs and tutorials linked in the description below to help you get started launching your next dApp today. Now, on to today's show. GM, welcome to the show, Rong. I'm ecstatic to have you on today.
Thank you so much, Nat. Thank you for having me.
My pleasure. And thank you so much for taking the time out of your day to come chat with us. I know we have a lot of great content to go over today on Reactive Network. Before we get into that, though, would you like to give a brief introduction about yourself for the crowd?
Yeah, definitely. I just realized your background's model. And it's this flipper, but that's
you got the map of Middle Earth right on.
Yes, Middle Earth's behind me. Yes,
excellent.
So sorry, I got distracted because the eye staring at me, and I was like, oh, wait a minute. Anyway, yes. Thanks for having me, and it's a pleasure to be on the show with you and everyone who's watching. Thank you so much. My name is Rong Kai. I am CEO of Reactive Network. And I've been in this industry since 2020. A lot of things has happened. I was in finance for first 2 years. I was doing actually BSc Accelerator Fund, and that's actually how I knew about my current team. And from 2021 onwards, I joined my team, and we initially were doing real-time data, and then we were in indexing, and then now we founded it, and we did Reactive Network together. So the journey has been quite a thing. I'll probably share more if you're interested. But of course, today we're here to talk about tech, and I'll share more about Reactive Network as well.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, if you don't mind, I'm always curious how people found themselves in tech and Web3 and the Web3 industry in general.
Yeah. So my story is probably very out of the norm, so to speak. Before 2020, I was senior police officer in Singapore. So I was in law enforcement for 8 years. I was the head operations of the division, 1,000 officers. I was running the entire police stations ops, basically, major events and all that kind of stuff. I was happy doing that, but of course, in 2019, I have a young daughter, and my wife told me, like, you need to kind of relook at your priorities, because I was working easily 70 to 90 hours a week, and so I switched industry. I went into blockchain because I kind of like what the industry is doing, but I think for a lot of people who's working in the industry, not just buying crypto, of course, if you're working in blockchain, I think one of the things that most attract you is the freedom that you get. Most companies are remote. Even if you're not remote, you go to the office, it's very, like, the ethos is there, very decentralized. A lot of freedom in terms of decision making and so on, which sort of attracted me to this industry as well. And I went into Binance. I was lucky to get an introduction. I went to Binance. I ran the 100 million BSc Accelerator Fund worked together with a team. We looked at 500 companies. We invested in 31 before I left. So that was a very, very good exposure to not just in the investment side of the house, but actually understanding the tech Because when you talk to them, they tell you, they pitch to you, and you hear everything that, oh, I'm trying to build this, I'm trying to build that. And why is this so important? Because a blockchain ecosystem needs this, it needs that, and so on. So that was really kind of a foundational crash course that I had in blockchain and the technology. And it really helped me in transiting into my current role. I first joined as COO, and then now I'm the CEO since 2023. My company, we were doing initially, like right at the beginning, when I was in finance, we actually invested in my outfit, and we were doing back then a real-time sort of data feed. We pull data off blockchain, we process it, and in real time, we send it to you wherever you want. It could be on email, on Telegram, or somewhere else, or you can do something with it. And back end, you want to automate certain things, but that was still like putting it off chain and coming back on chain again. And then subsequently, we needed historical data, so we became an indexer. But indexing wasn't what we wanted to do. We want to be really, really good at real time. And we came back into this space, and we sort of created Reactive Network. I'll share more about the problem statement and all that on Reactive Network later. I have a very short deck of slides to share with everyone. But very long story short, the impetus was really because we felt that anyone building on-chain, decentralized applications, DeFi, whatever it is, you kind of still apply the very old model where pull data off-chain and come back in again, pull data off-chain, coming in again. It is a very roundabout way of doing things if you look at it from a data standpoint. Anyone who's building on Web 2 will just think that it doesn't make sense. And they seem to take things for granted that you'd be like, wait a minute, you guys are still not doing this? What era are you? Are you still in 1970s? And that was what we felt as well. We were like, can we do something about that? And we created Reactive Network sort of to address that.
Amazing. And yeah, that's like you said, quite the unorthodox way of getting yourself into tech. But your experience in the police force as in a leadership role, I mean, naturally ramped you up for what you're doing now, which is amazing to hear. And yeah, like you said, I looked into Reactive Network a bit. It looks like it's solving a real gap that did exist in the blockchain ecosystem, where basically you were at the mercy of basically just indexing events to be able to react to things. But it seems this is going more so kind of like a parallel to like SNS, SQS, being able to just react to events, which is pretty cool. But I don't want to spoil anything. I think this is a good segue if you want to bring up your slides and we can get into it.
Definitely. Let me share my screen. Here we go.
And for folks who are watching us live, if you have any questions for Rong as he's going through his slides or anything that we're going through, please feel free to ask and we'll get that answered for you. All right, the stage is yours.
All right, thanks so much. So I won't take too long. This is like a dialogue, and then I do want to hear from people who's listening in as well, and kind of interact with us, and feel free to ask questions. So I'll just share, really just explain the technology, because after all, this is new. We actually created the world's first interoperable execution layer. So it'd be like, what's this? What's execution layer? Is it layer 1? Is it layer 2? It's not any layer like that. If you strictly want to put us like a layer with kind of like a 0.5, but when you tell people you're a layer 0.5, they'll be like, it doesn't exist. What's this? Yeah, because it's new. So essentially, this is a gap that it's not just an opportunity, but it's something that we ourselves feel very strongly. So if you look at the left, the Web2 experience is pretty straightforward. They deploy a code, the code reacts to changes in the tech component state directly, and it performs function and it goes to the application. What essentially means is that if you're building an application on the internet, on mobile phones, and so on, you deploy a code, you expect the code to react to things happening. If you connect a data set to it, it will see the data changing and it knows what to do based on that. very straightforward. It's a function that has been like, if this then that. It's been, if you learn coding anywhere, it's been around since a long time ago, maybe the 80s or even before. But the Web3 experience is not. It's interesting, but it's historical. I wouldn't go too deep about why it's like that. I'll just show you, like, this is the current state. You deploy a code on chain. So we talk about smart contracts. Smart contracts are code that's on chain. It cannot respond to on-chain events, only states. So it will know that a state basically is like block per block. It will know that at this block, this is the current state of all the wallets and everything that's happening on it. Your wallet has, say, 10 ETH right now, and the next block, your wallet has 9 ETH. Great. What happened to the 1 ETH in between? It doesn't know. The smart contract, the code itself will not know. And of course, blockchain itself, they cannot take data or respond across blockchains. They can't cross, because blockchains are supposed to be kind of self-contained, sterile system. It must have consensus. That's why it cannot just take data just like that from other chains organically. But business being business, we need to solve this, right? And for the longest time, people will be like, hey, this is actually solved. Right now, we do this. Yeah, we take data off-chain, we standardize it, we feed it to a Web2-based code. The Web2-based code, which is on the left, we'll just do all this, and it will come back to the Web3 node, and then it responds accordingly. A very roundabout way to do this, and for most of the time, because we need indexing for historical data as well, so we just latch onto it, and we want to do this way. But the problem is, and you should talk to a Web2 developer, and if some of you who are on the Web2 side, you probably will be nodding ahead with me. It's like, yeah, why are we accepting this? We kind of just accepted it because we've been doing this for close to a decade, but it shouldn't be this way. Should the experience be closer to kind of as seamless and possible like Web2? And I think that's something that is a question we ask ourselves, like right at the bottom. Can we push Web3 a little bit closer to mass adoption by making the development experience as seamless as possible in Web2? And so we actually created a reactive network to do that. So rather than having initiated action that goes to blockchain A, and because there's no cross data and no interaction to cross blockchain B, it could be the same blockchain actually. You could see blockchain A and blockchain A on the left and right is still the same, but the idea is still remains. They don't interact because they don't respond to the data, the events that's happening. They only respond to states. So rather than do this, we pull everything to external indexer with external code, right? But it's not just external indexer with external code. There's, because you need to put it off chain and come back on chain again. Behind the scenes, there's a lot of other things: data storage, transaction signing, synchronizations, etc. Each component has its own point of failure. You need all 5 to work. Actually, it could be 6 or 7 depending on your own tech setup. But this is the very simplified version of it. And one fails, the whole thing fails. And of course, there's cost of setup, and you need to rely on someone else providing this service to you if you don't want to do it yourself. And what we do is we put it on chain instead. If you can observe and we can interact, a majority of on-chain use cases will be solved very organically, remains on chain, and you don't have to kind of rely on a centralized point of failure. I think very importantly is that we are not saying that we don't need indexes anymore. There's a lot of use cases where you need to throw through whatever's happening on chain. You want to look at past historical data. You want to look at big data. Yeah, of course, indexing is actually very important. We did indexing, we know. But for, I think, a lot of very on-chain, reactive, responsive things that's happening, especially with smart contracts, actually what you see on the right, which is what we wanted to do completely, that's autonomous and it's reactive actions, that's on-chain. Reactive network actually solves this for all of these kind of use cases. The value we want to bring is basically this. We're going to reach a stage where reactive smart contracts will underpin the complex reactive functions on-chain. Because right now, if you're building a Web3 dApp, Very often, the very first version, the alpha version, pretty straightforward. You come in, you build, you have a lot of things that's off chain, you have some things that's on chain, and you make sure that the whole thing talks and it interacts. And you have an alpha, you have a MVP, and you push it out, right? And people start interacting with it. Great. Then your second iteration and your third iteration, that's where the real problem comes. Because each time you want to iterate, you don't just need to solve one part back here again. You need to solve all the parts. That cycle takes a longer time, way longer time actually. Maybe if you're building this completely off chain, you're on Android or Apple Store, for example, if it's a handphone application, maybe each version of updates takes you a few days if you're fast, maybe 1 week, 2 weeks if you're slow, so on average. But on Web3, it could be months to have the next version. That's a significant jump in terms of lag time, development lag time, right? Why is Uniswap on version 4? Why are they not yet on version 30? It's because of this. This is it. This is why. So when we look at the pace of development, this is a major blocker, and we want to underpin this complex reactive functions on chain. So we enable more complex smart contracts, both conditional and reactive, and then we close this interoperability gap for applications. Once it happens, both the user experience and the developer experience will be streamlined, and then we can start powering really powerful things, especially intent-centric applications, and so on. We're going to give certain intentions. We power that reactivity part of it. That's the whole point. And then hopefully it will lead to mass adoptions. This is my last slide, actually. It just explains how it works, and I think after that we can share more. But very simply, this is a very simplified diagram of how it is. Things still happening on the source chains on the left. User initiated action, it goes to smart contract, and you click approval, approve, that sort of stuff, and it goes to the blockchain, and blockchain execute, and it creates an event to say that, yeah, I've executed it. The reactive smart contracts, if it's built and it's observing across all the states, across all the blockchains that we are connected to, you observe all these live events, right? You retrieve the histories live. You compute the data and execute the contract logic on the smart contracts if it sees the events, because now we can see the event. It sees the event, it will, and my event and my own code tells me that if I see this, it meets the certain parameters, execute something else on chain. So rather than do this off chain, now you're doing it on chain. And then you publish the results. It creates yet another event because it's publishing the results, which is like a prompt on the destination chain to say that, hey, can we do something? And the user gets the result. It basically bypassed the current restrictions on all the blockchains that we have, which is if you're building on Ethereum, Polygon, any of the blockchains, they're not reactive. We don't want to create a layer one that is reactive and say that, yeah, now we are competing with you guys. To me, yes, maybe we can possibly do that, but that leaves out everyone else that are still on all those systems. What we wanted to do, actually, why don't we create something that benefits everyone as a whole? And that's why we created a data execution layer, not layer one or layer two, because we wanted this to benefit everyone, regardless of blockchains, regardless of even the code behind it. We, of course, at the beginning, we are only supporting EVMs, but in fact, non-EVMs are probably coming pretty soon. We were predicting that to be next year, but it might be coming this year, and that's something that's extremely exciting for us. So this is it. This is basically what it is. I have one which is really on use cases, but rather than go through it one by one, I thought, why don't we have a conversation? I wouldn't just show this. I think it distracts us from the various different use cases, but I wanted to have open conversations with you guys, think about the possibilities and so on. And I can share more on who's building on us right now. Like right now, we have more than 20 what we call RVMs, reactive virtual machines. Each RVM is basically one use case, and under it can have anywhere between 1 to a dozen different reactive smart contracts on them. So I'll stop sharing, and I think I'll come back to the floor.
Yeah, this is really neat. Just want to double click on the smart contract bit a bit more. So it seems like, at least from your diagram, the reactive smart contracts are kind of like a middleware, if you want to have like a Web2 parallel, that kind of do something before, like in between going from chain to chain, and is there so does there have to be a particular smart contract on either side that basically accepts whatever the message is from the reactive smart contract to be able to send it along to wherever it's supposed to go? Or
Yeah, we basically build it as a sort of a bridge between, and it could be the same chain, right? It could be Polygon and then back to Polygon, for example. But the whole point is to bridge this capability gap. There's a lack of this capability. You build a smart contract there, and it's just waiting for instructions. It cannot see all these events happening. So we created a middleware is kind of a good approximation to sort of what we are. But I think right now, this is a problem that exists since the very first days of smart contracts. And how people do it is they put it off and they're coming on, and they say this is like a middleware. It's put in the middle, but they put it off and they're coming back on again, trying to sort of create this loop, because the business use cases tell you to do it. You need this to be automated. You can't have a person clicking 24/7 all the time, thousands of times a day. So you need a machine to do that. And what we did is, rather than solve it at it's basically like an application level, where you put it off and on again, or basically the next level below it and put it on and off again. We actually go straight all the way down to the smart contract level. It's like, oh, so we're down to the code that you write on chain, and we solve it there. By doing it deeper, it creates basically a data flow that's a lot more organic, because code is code. Code is basically humans with an intention. You write it out in code that computers can understand, and they'll execute it and do it for you. Some really complex kind of things that you want to do. Think of all the kind of, as complex as you want, the kind of financial transactions you want to do on chain. That can only be done with a code. And if the code is interacting, it's very limited at that level. It has to jump through into another tech stack and another code that's on Web 2, for example, to talk to a Web 3 code, and they're all written in different languages. And that means you're introducing a lot more things. You're introducing a way for the data to get there. You're introducing a way to standardize the data. You're introducing a way to translate the data, and so on. And what we do is, no, you cut all of that. Why don't you make it a solution that's native at that level? And the code is just, to them, they're just talking code to code. I'm talking English to you, and you completely understand me. I don't need to introduce a lot of in-betweens.
Gotcha. And do Solidity developers have to learn anything new, or is are the reactive smart contracts fully EVM compatible?
It's fully EVM compatible, and you can just write it in Solidity. That's why we make it this way. We started with Solidity because I think Web3, at the end of the day, yeah, there's Rust developers and so on, but majority right now is Solidity. We basically just take the majority as a solution, we put it in. I see this having relatively long longevity. Even, maybe Ethereum in the next 5 years, they're going to move away from Solidity. That's okay, because they're never going to stop supporting the legacy side of the house, right? You can't just cut it and then restart completely from scratch. You need a sort of process to move towards certain areas, and that's also what we're going to do. We're just going to follow industry. At the end of the day, maybe eventually there will be other layer 1, layer 2s that come out and say that they are reactive smart contracts right at the beginning. Maybe they take our technology and they morph into certain things. That still means that our machine has been achieved, and maybe we do it next time. But right now, vast majority of blockchains, probably all of them, in fact, like if you write the smart contracts, they are just at that. I mean, there's a historical reason behind it. If you look at it, from a non-technical standpoint, if you're not technical, it's okay. You'll understand where I'm coming from. If you look at it, blockchains were created at the beginning, Bitcoin, right? It's just now you giving me Bitcoin and I giving someone else Bitcoin. It's meant to be that. And then you slap a layer of coding on top of that. This is what happens.
Yeah, exactly. Once things become a little bit more interesting, is like then you open like a whole new can of worms. But it's like it's for the best, right? It's like that's why we push innovation,
Yeah.
and certainly what you guys are doing here. Just curious, like, are there any added gas costs if there's a reactive smart contract in between?
Yeah. So the gas
Yeah.
will be paid like because I'm structured as a decentralized. Well, architecturally, I'm blockchain as well, right? So if you have a reactive smart contract on us, the smart contract by observing the events, they don't need to pay gas, but it's like the acting. Oh, I see something that is relevant to me, and then I act. That creation, the act will need gas. But right now, I mean, it's super cheap. It's like fractions, vast small fractions of a cent to react to things. Imagine you're paying, for example, $500 to an indexer a month to do the same thing, and then on us, maybe in a month you're paying less than a cent. Sometimes it depends. Based on use case, how data heavy are you? And even if you're really data heavy, I think it's not going to be much. And that's why and even to us it's already energy efficient is because we created a system where they are inherently spotting all the events without needing to pay money. Like, the reason why indexers need to charge so much money is because they spend a lot of energy and resources and coding power to pull data off and sort it out for you before they even read it. But what we're doing is we leave all this completely on chain in this native format, and our code being native to it are already seeing all of this. I don't need to put extra power, actually, it just sees the whole thing. So straight away, we make that part free. And we only charge for the second part, which is, oh, I see events that's happening and this is relevant to me, and therefore I need to do something about it. And the reactive smart contracts pays a fee. And you'll be like, okay, then who's paying the gas? Yes, it's not the human who's paying the gas. The human gives the smart contract a wallet, basically, and the smart contract now has its own money. Imagine this robot that's smart and it has its own money, and it will pay if it needs to act on it.
Makes sense. Makes sense. Yeah, this is very, very interesting. I'm curious to hear. You mentioned it briefly in your slides, but what are some interesting use cases you're seeing built with reactive smart contracts?
It's a very good question. So, I think right now we have a few that we're extremely excited about. For example, Wolf Rooks, they're using reactive smart contracts to really fuel the automatic sort of interactions within their game. Right, it's a game which instinctively tell you that if you're a Web3 game and you're a legit Web3 game, a vast portion of your assets and coding base and all that is off chain. It is naturally off chain. But the interaction with Web3 is where that part comes in. And how do you automate that? With the additional complexity, the majority of your digital assets are actually on Web2 off chain, and they're coming in to use reactive smart contracts to really resolve this roundabout. Uh, so to me, I mentioned them right at the beginnings because it's not just using us to solve like Web3. You can use us to actually make the intersection between Web2 and Web3 a lot smoother as well, because if you constantly have to jump between Web3 to Web2 and jump back again, jump out, in, out, uh, it is a lot more inefficient. Where comparatively, maybe you're just Web3 to Web3, and only at the final point you come back to Web2, and then that's it. And then so it reduces the amount of back and forth that you need to do. Another one that we are really excited about is Smart Trust. They're using us to basically automate they're doing basically a remote contract escrow service. So what it means is that if you are a remote worker or contract worker, it is relatively common to hear about someone being scammed out of like an employment contract. You do some digital work for someone who's based in a completely different continent than where you are, and you say that, oh, sometimes you sign the contract, very often it's written as like governed by the law of wherever the employer is, or maybe you're the employer and you put yourself, it's okay, maybe you're Canadian and you say governed by the laws of Canada, province of British Columbia, and then this guy is based in Venezuela, and he didn't do the work. And yeah, you can go to the court to try to do something about it, but the guy's in Venezuela. How are you going to get him? And so on. Most often is employee to employer, but sometimes it's the other way around. And they're actually trying to use it to kind of solve escrow kind of functions, where maybe the transaction, like the money, if you do this work, I will pay you $3,000, and I lock it or I do something about it, and it's in a trustless environment, and I can disagree and you disagree. You say you have done the work and I'm the employer. I say no, I disagree, and then who's going to arbitrate between this, right? They created a service that uses Web3 to sort of solve this in a trustless manner, and sort of have a neutral party to kind of, I wouldn't say take sides, but sort of to assess the situation, and then objectively say that the work is done or no, the work is not yet done, and so on. And then when you lock it up, is it just going to rot? If it's like $50,000 or $100,000, not many companies are willing to lock that money up. And they created a system where it's resolved. I'm not going to go too deep into it. If anyone's interested, you can look up Smart Trust. Smart with just one single T in the middle. So it's a Smart Trust combined into one word. Go and take a look. It's very, very interesting how they wanted to use it to resolve. And they're using reactive smart contracts to really bridge that automation between the things that's on-chain to on-chain, right? Because there's a certain amount of funds locked in a trustless environment. Who's going to automatically release it, and so on. Very amazing kind of use cases, and there's more, of course. But we recently are going to start funding a DeFi use case as well. And we have that another one that came from our hackathon, and we actually funded him to turn it into like actual working product that's on chain. It's called Reactor, and it basically helps you do stop orders across all kind of DeFi that you have. There's a lot more as well. Actually, they have like liquidity protection and so on, and that they want to put it in. So the whole idea then is use it, and it's no code. Like if you're a typical user, you don't need to know coding. That's the best. You go in, you be like, I'm gonna do stop orders. Some places have, some places do not have. And sometimes you want liquidity protection, and that to me is critical. And how do you do that? Use a reactive smart contract, and it deploys for you. Set the conditions. If things happen, the smart contracts can detect, and it will help you do whatever you need it to do.
Wow, yeah, those are some amazing use cases, and it seems like there's a whole ocean of opportunity to build a bunch more. For the developers that are watching us here today, what would you recommend is the best way for them to start playing around with and learning Reactive Network?
I think the best way to really start looking at, if you're a developer, obviously, look at our documentations, because our documentation don't just have like a typical set of rules. We actually have an education section, like, and the education section assumes you're a developer. Actually, you're like you know Solidity, these are the basics. You know what we're talking about, and then we teach you how to start from 0 to 1. And to me, that is one of the things that when we were building this, even still doing testnet, I make it a very strong point to my developer team. Like, you guys need to not just have the docs, you guys need to have the textbook to the docs. Like, and the education system, so the education section is also not just textbook to the docs. The education segment is actually like the teacher teaching the students. This is how you do it. Because I wanted people to lower the entry barrier as much as possible, come in and learn. And so to me, that is probably the best start. And whether you're technical or not technical, I think the best way to really see this effect for yourself is to check out Reactor. We will actually have more publications about it next week, I think. But right now it's already live, is working. I think it's reactor.in, like reactor in. And go and take a look. I do need to double check if I got it wrong, but I think it's Reactor in. And oh no, it's not Reactor in, but I'll share the link with you separately.
Yeah, for sure. And I love that you guys are taking a lot of care in your docs, because a big meme in the blockchain Web3 industry is that docs are usually quite skimpy. So the fact that um, you guys are putting in the detail and the work into that is fantastic to hear. And are there any grant opportunities for builders who might be interested in pursuing a longer term project in the space?
Yes, I'm glad you asked. We have a dev fund. It is of course denominated in reactive, in React, our token, our coin. Uh, but we actually, when we created this, we set aside like a huge fund that is meant to incentivize developers building using Reactive Network. And the best part of it is that it is a grant, which means I'm not taking any equity, if you want to create a token, I'm not going to take your token. I'm not going to take anything from you. All I need you to do is prove that you have your milestones, you're building towards it, you're building using Reactive Network, you have a great use case, you have a great you mean to really contribute to Web3. We give you that grant, and as you meet each side of the milestones, we pay out according to that. So I think it's extremely attractive to especially developers. Really, you're either starting or you're already in the midst of building something. Like, please take a look at it. We have a dev fund. You can see the dev fund on our website as well. By the way, jumping back to earlier, I was talking about the reactor. I've sent it separately to NUP, but it's actually the reactor.in. So you can check it out. The reactor is one word and .in. You can check out that place. I think we're working with the developers working on it to revamp it a little bit more, and I believe the developer is actually trying to put in AI to really make things a lot more spicier over there as well. So I think it's going to be completed next week. I'm sort of like doing a pre-marketing, so to speak. Say, hey, take a look at that, and it's for someone else project. It's like it's a developer that we previously funded, and we continue to make this better. Because we feel that this is actually a very good entry point, not just for developers, but also for non-developers, because it's completely no code. You just click and then it deploys for you.
Awesome. Yeah, and we love the alpha on this show. And is there anything else that you might be able to share around the roadmap of Reactive Network?
Yeah. So for those who are not familiar with us, we launched actually that was about 4 months ago in March. We launched in March. And we basically, in that time, I think network now is completely stable. It's good. We've started. We were connected to. We during that 4 months we connected to Hyperlane, and then Hyperlane, they have that 4, 5, 6, I think about 6 dozens different networks that they are on, and of course through us and through them, you can actually react as destination chains to all of that as well. But on our own, we are also continuously connecting to new network, and that's something that is extremely exciting for us. Just this week, we announced that we have integrated Hyperliquid. There's going to be more. I think what we are focusing right now are really the chains that have the most potential for a developer. Like, I want to be there because why is it? And if you are, as a developer, you want to be on whatever chain, we will make sure we will support that. And we are looking at some of the major non-EVM chains as well. And very likely this should be coming soon. Actually, there's something that my CTO, Danny, he been giving me very good advice about some of this. Obviously, we don't promise anything, because with development, you guys know as well, sometimes things can come your way and then things are delayed. But right now, I think we have a brilliant team, and things are going faster than I expected, which is always a good sign.
100%. Always is. You always want to be ahead of the game there. But yeah, looking forward to basically seeing people start building cool stuff with Reactive Network. And yeah, as Rong mentioned, if anyone's watching here today and is curious to take a project a little bit further than just a weekend hack, they do have grants. They do have a grant program available, so definitely reach out. And I guess on that part, if people do want to reach out or have questions, what's the best way for them to get that help?
Yes. I think the best way is reach out to us on our social media. We on Telegram, for example, we have both the general public one, but we also have a developer Telegram group, which I do realize I haven't sent to Nap yet. I'll send to him, and then he can share with everyone. So on Telegram, the developer one is probably, well, the if you're a developer, that's probably where you want to start from. I think the other than the developer funding, and like you just want to try out our documentations, Reactor, go and play around. We have an upcoming competition. It's not a hackathon; it's a competition, because we don't want to just attract things on testnet. When I attract, actually, you're already building something. Your project, it could be one person, that's okay, but you're already building it. And along the way of building your dApp, you will face the same problems that I've just described earlier. And straight away, I'll be like, I'm going to match the two together. If just nice, you're in this stage of your development, you're looking for a solution. I have a competition, and if you build using reactive smart contract, and it solves your problem, and we see how well your reactive smart contracts with an S, like you can have many of them, do actually you stand to win the prize. That's our competition. It's going to come in the next couple of weeks. We'll announce it actually pretty quickly as well. So that's something for developers to look forward to as well.
Right on, right on. Yeah, looking forward to seeing all the cool stuff get built out of that as well. With that, we'll let you go here, Rong. I know we went a little over time, but really enjoyed the conversation here today, and thank you again for taking the time out of your day to chat with us.
Likewise, thank you for having me, and I'm always very happy to share about what we're doing. It's very exciting to me, especially I myself. I'm not a developer, right? I was a police officer. I studied chemical engineering, but never coding into this level. And I think what we've built is something that even me as a non-developer, I'm very excited about, because this is a core problem in the entire ecosystem. And I think that's something that if you're a developer and you're interested, you should take a look, try it out. Highly encourage you to come and try it out, and see how this will change the way you build.
Well said. And yeah, we'll have all the resources for you to do just that in the description below. So definitely maybe take your weekend hack this week to learn some Reactive Network smart contract development. But with that, I just want to wish everybody a very happy Friday, happy weekend, wherever you may be. And we'll catch you back here on DevNTell next week. Right on. Have a good one.
Thank you so
Cheers.
much.
My pleasure.
Bye.
Bye.